This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities.
Welcome to Business, Equity, and Opportunities, your one-stop shop for information and tips on starting and growing your own business. I'm Scott Sander. Our show is for current and future entrepreneurs. Each show has 7 segments representing the things you'll need to know, whether it's getting access to capital, running a business day-to-day, staying on top of the week in business, guiding you through accounting and bookkeeping, focusing on an industry, and always trying to inspire with a success story. We hear from business professionals, community leaders, and our own team of experts. They tell their stories to help you build and grow your own successful business. We're here every Sunday morning on Wish TV. You can watch the live stream through wishtv.com. You can see much of our content and then share it with anybody you think can use it on demand at beoshow.com. Our site grows every week with new stories and resources. And while you're there, sign up for our podcast. Listen anytime, anywhere at your convenience. We also encourage you to sign up for our newsletter. We update it every Tuesday. Let's get to the business of business. Here's what's coming up today on Business, Equity, and Opportunity. A healthcare tech company gets access to capital in a big way. Jane King returns with what's happening this week in business. Ty Shea explains what a CFO really is and whether you may need one. We deal with stress in the workplace. Our industry focus hits the golf course of all things. And we wrap up with a success story. First, we're getting started with sports and a lack of officials to call them. There's a national shortage of referees, umpires, linesmen, and more. A recent report claims there are 50,000 fewer officials nationwide than there were before the pandemic. No officials means no games. Last year in Indiana, umpire shortages canceled some 500 high school baseball and softball games. That's just baseball and softball, to say nothing of other sports and younger teams. One group is working on solutions.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. Getting started.
Dr. David Allen Pierce is the director of Sports Innovation Institute at IUPUI. He and his partners saw a need and set out to fill it.
I taught a senior capstone class in sport management in the fall of 2019, and our class project that semester was to look at the shortage of sports officials across the board in the state of Indiana. And when I started it, I actually had an underappreciation for the significance and the magnitude of the problem. And over the course of the semester, we went through the design thinking process and had students think creatively and innovate and try to come up with solutions to better enhance the recruitment and retention of sports officials. And by the end of that semester, there were some seeds of some really good ideas, and I kind of got excited about it, being a director of a sports innovation institute, and wanted to try to figure out, how do we take some of these ideas forward. So I, partnered with some different faculty, like in the School of Informatics, and fortunately got connected to Kyle Armstrong and his company, and there were some local sports innovators and entrepreneurs here, and then it's been kind of a nice collaboration between me and a variety of different students to kind of get the product to the point that it is today.
RefReps is, we've developed a sports officiating education system. It's truly the first of its kind that's ever existed. It's an online course curriculum and online coursework that really is geared towards high schools and universities. The idea is that they can take our materials and they can actually teach a class for credit during the curricular day. Online coursework, what we call interactive video training packs. They use point of view video. That's kind of where the idea came from Dr. Pierce. So, on a basketball court, you'll actually see a point guard drive down the lane from the perspective of the official, from exactly their eyes. They crash into the opposing team center, and the video that learner's watching pauses, and they have to make a call. Was it a block or a charge? And they can actually, stand in front of an iPad, move their body, block. And the app will track their body motion, identify what call was made. And then we provide all kind of support materials and things that instructors can use to really teach students and get them involved, get them excited about officiating, which is what's been missing for so long from this industry. We partner with state high school athletic associations. We're partnered with Battlefields to Ballfields, a nonprofit organization geared towards getting veterans, military veterans involved. We're working with professional sports leagues. The whole idea is really to develop that next generation of great sports officials. That's our mission. And whether you're an adult learner or a student learner, we've got content materials education for everyone. We really have geared everything that we're doing towards new officials initially, trying to get new people involved. We've built this out so that it really appeals to that next generation. Our mission as a company is to properly develop the next generation of great sports officials. And so we knew we had to meet them where they're at. We wanted to get high school students, college students, even adult learners, but really get them excited about officiating in a more engaging way. And that's what we've set out to do.
Officials are a linchpin of the entire sports ecosystem, particularly at the youth and amateur sports level. And so just in the state of Indiana last year, there were over 500 baseball and softball games that were canceled at the reserve or the varsity level. So we're talking about participation opportunities that are at risk if we don't fill that pipeline with new young sports officials. So all of the other ancillary things that go on in the sports ecosystem from a business perspective are in some way at risk when games and events are canceled, and then ultimately, kids lose out on participation opportunities.
We've got some really exciting things on the horizon right now. My goal personally, I have a big belief in really helping solve problems in ways that people never knew was possible. They just didn't know there was another way. And my goal is 5-10 years from now, I want people to look back at the old way of recruiting and retaining sports officials and just thinking, man, weren't we silly? There was such an easier way to do it, we just didn't know it yet. 24 universities around the country that are teaching this, over 500 high school students taking this class. I just think it is such a huge opportunity for kids, for employability, for life skills. I just want to provide opportunities that are going to stick with these young people for forever.
We also have a look at a different kind of competition, robotics. At last weekend's Indiana State Robotics Championship, 167 teams qualified for the World Championships, more than any other state. Andy Fulton, volunteer and events coordinator for the TechPoint Youth Foundation, fills us in on the details.
TechPoint Foundation for Youth just hosted the 2023 State Robotics Championship at Lucas Oil Stadium. At the conclusion of that event, we were fortunate enough to be able to send 167 teams to the VEX World Championship that takes place in Dallas. We're super excited to be able to send not only 167 teams, but the most teams out of any state in the United States. They'll be a part of 3,000 teams representing over 40 countries at the VEX World Championship. So we're super excited about that. What we're doing is inspiring students at an early age to pursue their interests in STEM. If you think about it, we're going to need to have a workforce that supports the companies that are coming to Indiana to start their businesses. So if we can start students early on with their interest in STEM, specifically with robotics, covering math, science, technology, engineering, all of the things that we know are encompassing in STEM, if we can get students interested early on and then ultimately pursue a career in STEM, we can set Indiana businesses up for success in the future. What gets me excited is just the kids getting excited, right? It's incredible to see students from rural and urban Indiana competing next to students from China and Taiwan and England and Australia, and just seeing all of these students, like-minded students, connecting with each other, sharing an interest in STEM, sharing in the excitement of STEM, and hopefully bringing home some trophies from the World Championship as well.
Getting started. Made possible by the Indiana Economic Development Corporation.
We'll follow the progress of the Indiana teams through the World Championship. They're in Dallas, April 25th through May 4th. If you'd like to learn more about the TechPoint Youth Foundation and all the efforts underway to help the Indiana teams meet their goals, find links at beoshow.com. If you'd like to ask us a question, maybe appear on the show, send us an email, beo@wishtv.com. Still to come, we look at this week in business with Jane King. First, though, how a healthcare tech company secured more than $42 million in seed money. That's on the other side of this break. You're watching Business, Equity, and Opportunity, so stay with us. Welcome back to Business, Equity, and Opportunities. I'm Scott Sander. Time to talk about accessing capital. Healthcare tech company Blue Agilis aims to pioneer a revolution from the boardroom to the bedside. And the company got a big chunk of seed money to fuel the effort.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. Access to capital.
Nadia Adams is the founder and CEO of Agilis Corporation. She tells us how a big investment could lead to a big advancement.
So my company is a healthcare technology company, and what we really focus on is surfacing the clinical solutions to everyday problems that healthcare systems, clinical teams from like primary care practices and specialist practices are facing when they're looking at how do we improve quality, health outcomes, and cost of care, as well as patient experience. So I started this company really with over a decade of experience in trying to solve this problem. Basically, the tools and approaches that we had access to just weren't giving us the outcomes that we wanted to see. And so we really started exploring this field. And I will say that Dr. Bustani is kind of the scientist around it. It's called Agile Implementation, Agile Science. And so our technology is really framed from Agile transformation, which is using those methodologies and tools to kind of accelerate the work of quality and cost. I'm personally passionate and motivated about this because I don't know if you know the statistics, but 1 in 4 patients that access our healthcare system today receive preventable medical harm, and that doesn't even include preventable medical death. The word preventable means that it is preventable and we can do better. And so that's my whole motivation around this. I have a personal story. My younger brother, when he was born, my mom was going into labor with him. She went to the hospital in the middle of the night, and there was no doctor to deliver him. And so she waited 45 minutes later. Her OB arrived, realized that he needed emergency C-section, and basically he was in the NICU for over a month. So none of the physicians and nurses thought that he was gonna make it. They actually asked my parents to find burial grounds, and then the first time he cried was 28 days after he was born, when they pulled the umbilical cord, and truly, it was a miracle. That motivates me in really trying to eliminate preventable medical errors and death. And unfortunately, you know, with the pandemic, I think things have probably gotten even more exacerbated just with all of the burnout that our great clinicians have faced. And so the technology takes all of the evidence-based solutions that exist out there. We surface it in a simple way, right, where everyday clinical team members can take it and understand. We make it easy to find, and then we understand how they practice. So one thing that everybody always talks about in healthcare is local, and it is truly local. But no one has figured out how to take standards and localize those standards. And that's what our technology actually does, is we know that every practice is different. We know that every community is different. We know that the patients within those communities are different. And so we understand, we take in information and try to understand how do those providers like to practice? What is their practice operations and workflows? Who are these patients? What do they have access to in their community? And then we're able to auto-generate very customized interventions or blueprints that meet the clinical needs that they're trying to address. I tell people every day I feel very grateful and blessed and appreciative as an entrepreneur that's only been doing this for 2 years. Is we got $2.5 million in seed funding, but we are EBITDA positive right now after being a 2-year-old company. And so that truly gives us kind of an advantage where we can take the $2.5 million and truly invest it into product development. So we use AI, but we want to continue to invest more into AI and machine learning, because the more that we do that, the more precise that we can get around auto-generating these blueprints for these clinical teams. And the other thing is, you know, we are able to scale and expand. So 80% of the clients that have worked with us in the past 2 years have wanted to scale after 6 weeks of implementation. And so that's really where we want to take the money that we've received, is to really create greater impact across the nation with the technology that we've created. You need to know what I call is your minimal viable goal. What is it that you're not willing to negotiate on? Right? So for me, that is, I'm going to work as hard as I can to make sure that health outcomes are improved for all, right? But you need to be very flexible on the path to get there. So if you come up with the idea and a plan and you think that that's the way to get to your goal, and then you start trying it 1 month out and it doesn't work, you need to be willing to flip-flop. You need to be agile, right? You need to actually change. And even with me and getting the seed funding, I probably did 50 pitches in a month and a half. And I learned so much, right? And I think that's the biggest thing that I would tell entrepreneurs is it is evolving. Do not fall in love with the process, but stay committed to your mission and don't waver from that mission, but be willing to flip-flop in how you get there.
If you'd like to know more about Blue Agilis Corporation, look for a link on our website. It's beoshow.com. Coming up later, accounting and bookkeeping and the return of the CFO of our operation, Ty Shea. But right after the break, Jane King is back at the NASDAQ with more in the Week in Business. See you in about 95 seconds.
Every business is unique, and every business has a target audience. Circulus Digital Media can help you connect and grow your customer base with turnkey digital solutions that are nimble to reach a customer base that spans the globe. Pinpoint a specific audience down to the smallest details. No matter the size of your business, put Circulus Digital Media to work for you and get results. This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. This Week in Business.
Welcome back to Business, Equity, and Opportunities. This Week in Business. Worries rise even as inflation starts to ease. A top financial name warns of a long recovery. And one of our area's biggest businesses may be developing a blockbuster. All from Jane King at the NASDAQ. Jane, thanks for being with us.
Great to be with you, Scott.
Talk about this business owners survey. Shows that even as inflation has started to ease, at least for top of the year, it's really been top of mind.
Well, it is still. I mean, this has been lingering for a couple of years now. So the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, in their first quarter small business index, found that a record 54% of small business owners do cite inflation as their top concern for the first 3 months of this year. So that is the fifth straight quarter that small business owners have said inflation is their biggest worry. This indicates a greater reluctance to hire, to expand, to spend money. Of course, all that to keep the economy kind of chugging along. So the inflation reflects higher labor costs, energy costs, restaurants have to pay for food, so all of that being reflected as well. Of course, we saw the price of eggs up, 72% or something crazy like that over the past year. And small business leaders, according to this survey, are frustrated with Washington, D.C. as well, saying they're not doing enough to solve these problems, even though some of the things they think could be easily solved, less spending and so forth. They feel like our leaders in Washington aren't doing enough to help them.
We'll have to see if a few good months of good returns, if it continues, might start to ease some of those fears, but only time will tell. You know, when the head of JP Morgan Chase speaks, the financial world listens, and what he just said may, for many, be fairly chilling.
So Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, of course, one of the most powerful people on Wall Street and therefore the country, says the banking crisis isn't done. He believes that we will have repercussions from this regional banking crisis. Silicon Valley Bank really started this in February. He thinks we're going to feel this for some time. Now, he said this isn't 2008, which was really a threat to the whole U.S. financial system, but he says there will probably be some regulations that come out of this. And the regional banks still feel a little shaky. Their stocks have stabilized, but they haven't gone back to where they were before Silicon Valley Bank. And I'm still hearing anecdotally some companies, construction companies, some other small businesses saying they're having trouble getting loans from some of these regional banks. They've just pulled in their lending out of an abundance of caution, and that's having a ripple effect on small businesses.
Yeah, a good example of how a big name in business can affect small business as well, because so many loans come from those regional banks, and they in turn are investors in these businesses as well. So important perspective there. Weight loss drugs, particularly this new crop of them, are a huge development already. you see that Lilly may be working on the biggest of the bunch.
So the Wall Street Journal calls this drug the King Kong of drugs. So this could be absolutely huge for Eli Lilly. It is called Mounjaro, and it helped a typical person with obesity who weighed 230 pounds lose up to 50 pounds over 17 months. We really haven't seen an obesity drug do anything like that before. So analysts project this could be absolutely huge for Lilly. It could reach $2 billion in annual sales, and of course, they would have patent protection on that drug for many, many years after that. Now, Eli Lilly has been buying TV ads for the drug. It's still going through the FDA approval process, but it in clinical trials was a safe drug, and this could be just one of their biggest drugs of all time, really, if this comes to fruition, as many expect that it will.
And as you well know, being a native of Indiana, what does well for Lilly then usually means good for the local economy as well. So it's a big cycle.
Yes.
All right. That's
Could be absolutely great for Indianapolis area and Eli Lilly. Their stock's been up a little bit, but I don't know if this is fully priced in yet. So we'll continue to watch it. I don't know what the timetable is for FDA approval, but they have put it on the fast track, so it might get done yet this year.
Jane King, as always, thanks for the perspective from Wall Street.
Thanks, Scott.
This Week in Business is made possible by InnoPower.
If you're holding a business-related event that you'd like us to mention here on the show, send us an email, beo@wishtv.com. Coming up later, how stress affects running your business day to day. Next, though, CFO Ty Shea has some tips on how to become one and what a CFO exactly is. More business equity and opportunities after we do this bit of business.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities, Accounting and Bookkeeping.
It is time on Business Equity and Opportunities to talk accounting and bookkeeping with frequent contributor and the person we're getting to know increasingly well here on our broadcast, and that is Ty Shea, the Chief Financial Officer of Circle City Broadcasting, CFO. Ty, we've done this often enough now. I think I can ask you a personal question. What do you do? What's a CFO?
I'll never tell. Great to see you, Scott. Yeah, I mean, my role is basically to protect the financial health of the organization. And, a big part of that is looking at cash flow, looking at forecasting, comparing the money coming in versus the money going out. And also looking at, market trends and what could affect our company both positively and adversely down the road, and having kind of that long-term perspective as well. But primarily, serving our owner, president, and CEO is a big part of my job, and making sure he has the information he needs to make sound decisions on behalf of the company.
It's interesting because as a small business owner, one might be thinking, yeah, that's great, but what's that have to do with me? This is a position that you don't have until you're a big mega corporation. If people understood, and I hope they do, the way Circle City Broadcasting is put together, it's essentially a small business structure put onto what is a very big business enterprise. So what you're talking about could well apply to a small business, correct? I mean, there's no lower limit in terms of bottom line for having somebody specifically in charge of the finances.
Yeah, no question. And, it doesn't necessarily have to be a CFO. It can be, what's called a controller or a business manager. There are different titles. Titles are liquid. They can change. But I think the importance that it does underscore in having another set of eyes, another advisor, somebody else who's looking out on behalf of the company that maybe sees something that the owner doesn't see, or just somebody that can be there for the owner to bounce things off of, another perspective. And I think that's also important from somebody
in that role. Do you sometimes have the opportunity to make decisions on your own? Does everything go back to the boss, or is that part of the point that at least on the day-to-day you just get stuff done?
Yeah, that depends. It depends on your relationship with your owner, and that evolves over time, right? And as management and the owner get to know each other and get an understanding, and so that there's no hard and fast rules of that. But I think my job is to make sure that my owner is informed on the things that I know are important to him, and that I support him that way. And so that our relationship has evolved over the course of basically 7.5 years now, where I've got a pretty good idea of what is important to him and the expectations he has of me in making him aware of important issues.
If someone were to say, actually I can use that kind of help, and you've talked with us in the past about outsourcing accounting and bookkeeping issues, but if somebody's thinking about, no, let's have somebody that is dedicated to what we're doing, 7 days a week. Is there CFO school? What's the general job qualification for somebody who might take that job?
I mean, I've always found, I'll just give my personal perspective, OJT, on the job training, right? And that's how I learned. I had a great mentor who was a CFO at a previous company I was with. And, I took a lot of mental notes in working with him and seeing how he interacted with the owners at that company. And that's where I think mentors are invaluable if you have the opportunity to glean from them. And so it kind of allows you to see the pitfalls of a potential job like that and taking on a job like that, and being able to navigate things and learn before you're actually in the fire. But I had never done it before my current position, and so there was kind of a sink or swim aspect to it, which comes with any new job, and so I think that's just part of the deal, and eventually you figure it out. And again, that comes with that as that relationship evolves with your business owner.
Well, I and my mortgage lender appreciate that you're swimming and not sinking. So thank you for the perspective on being a CFO, what it might take to bring one into your organization, whether you call it that, a controller, business manager, or whatnot. This is our CFO, Ty Shea. Ty, thank you.
Thank you very much, Scott.
To learn more about accounting and bookkeeping or any of the topics that you see here today, visit beoshow.com. While you're there, sign up for our newsletter. We update it every week, Tuesday exactly. And don't forget to subscribe to our Business Equity and Opportunities podcast. Listen whenever, wherever you want. Coming up, it is tea time in our industry focus. Next, though, another lesson in running your business day to day. That's when Business Equity and Opportunities returns. Thanks again for joining Business Equity and Opportunities. I'm Scott Sander. Running your business day to day can be satisfying, profitable, even fun, but it certainly can come with stresses too for you and your employees. We asked some experts how to make sure business is more satisfying than stressful.
This is Business Equity and Opportunities, running your business day to day.
Kimball Richardson is the Manager of Business Development for Community Behavioral Health and the Fairbanks Recovery Center.
We can't avoid stress. And I'll tell you something else. Stress is not inherently bad. There are some parts about stress that are actually good and motivating. They help people to work at their, I like to call it, peak performance. It's when it's either too much or unrelenting that we find ourselves tipping over that edge, and then it becomes stressful. I really appreciate it when business owners can not only have intelligence about their business and products, but what we call emotional intelligence. which means let's keep in mind health of your employees also has a financial aspect to it. So, and health can mean physical health, mental health, and spiritual health. And if you're okay with that, that full concept, usually that's what helps buoy your employees throughout the year. It's tough to have that balance, especially if you're in a small business where you have many hats. And it's so important to take extra time out, even if you, I know this sounds a little odd, but even if you have to schedule it. You know, it's on our watches, it's on our phones. Stand up, breathe. And it can be a little annoying at first, but it is a reminder that this is a long-term effort. And this is keeping you healthy, not just now, but for the long run as well. It's so important for business owners to think about their employees, and while we appreciate that, we want them to think about themselves too. And we know that usually people who are in smaller sized businesses are very driven, but sometimes don't take that extra step to care for themselves in their emotional health. So please think about that and be cognizant of that, because we want you around for your family, friends, and business for the long haul. There's a lot of places, organizations, agencies, or even individuals that can offer mental health and substance use disorder help to literally any size business, but especially our entrepreneurs and small businesses who may not be able to offer healthcare insurance. So if you talk to your family doctor, if you call a crisis line that could be 988, or it could be a local crisis line such as Community Fairbanks Behavioral Health, and ask, I have this going on, I'm not sure what my resources are for assistance, we can help with that. Stigma around mental health help is still here, even in 2023. It's getting better, even in my 37 years of being in this profession, it is getting better, but there is still some there. So I think just rethinking it, that it's actually brave to ask for help. What's the harder thing to do for most people? To keep everything inside and shut up, or get help? It's to get help. It's seemingly harder to do. In the long run, it'll benefit your health, and it might even save your life.
You need to learn more about dealing with stress in the workplace. Visit beoshow.com for links. Later, we wrap up our show with the success story of the day, but next, our industry focus is on the business of golf in Indiana and how it may help your business. More after this break.
Every business is unique, and every business has a target audience. Circulus Digital Media can help you connect and grow your customer base with turnkey digital solutions that are nimble to reach a customer base that spans the globe. Pinpoint a specific audience down to the smallest details. No matter the size of your business, put Circulus Digital Media to work for you and get results.
Welcome again to Business Equity and Opportunities. Time for our industry focus, this time on golf. Since the start of the pandemic, the business of golf has been booming, and that could be important to you because it means business on the course may boom too. It's well known that relationships grow and deals get done on the links. A recent study examined the economic impact of the game in Indiana.
This is Business Equity and Opportunities, Industry Focus.
Mike David is the executive director of Indiana Golf. We met him at Broadmoor Country Club to learn more about the sport's impact on the state.
Well, my name is Mike David. I've been with the Indiana Golf office for 33 years now, and basically Indiana Golf is the administrative offices for 5 different golf-related not-for-profits. So our vision statement's to be the vital hub for golf in Indiana, and we try to be one-stop shopping for everything golf, basically. Yeah, you know, I think the biggest number that came from our economic impact study was the fact that golf is over a $2 billion industry for the state of Indiana, which is certainly significant. And for those of us that work in golf, I think we realize it's big business, but when you see those numbers on paper, then it really resonates. 23,000 jobs related to the game of golf in the state of Indiana, over $600 million in wages. So it's a significant part of the Indiana economy for sure. So I mean, we have 400 golf facilities around the state, and those golf facilities are using local businesses for their suppliers for, you know, food and beverage, for grass seed, you name it. There's a lot of connection to the local businesses there. But the other significant part, I think, and this study showed that, is that the game of golf means about $50 million to charitable organizations around the state. 80% of our facilities are hosting a charity event every year. So I think that really shows the game is giving back to the community and really making an impact on some of those local organizations that are hosting events at our golf facilities. Well, not only the camaraderie from the game, but just the networking opportunities with the game of golf. I mean, at a lot of these charity outings, you're put with people that, you know, you may know, but you're having an opportunity to network with them, to get them to know them better. And you know, you can learn a lot about people in 4 or 4.5 hours on a golf course. So it's a significant opportunity. It provides a significant opportunity, I think, for that networking and for just people to get to know each other and really conduct a lot of business on the golf course as well, which that's definitely happening. I think the future for the game in the state looks really bright. I think what this study showed us is golf is very healthy right now. You hate to say it, but obviously the pandemic pushed a lot of people to this game. And I think it brought a lot of new people to the game, but it also brought a lot of people back to the game. And I think what they found is, you know, it's a healthy opportunity. It's great exercise. You're outside. There are a lot worse things to be doing. So I think that we'll continue to see the trend that we've seen really by the pandemic pushing people to the game. I think that'll continue. And I think what also will help the game moving forward, really two things. A lot of the workforce is still remote. And I joke around that it's a lot easier to sneak out of your house than it is your office, but that's a fact. A lot of people are scheduling their day around getting out to play 9 or 18 holes, and I think that will continue to a degree moving forward. But I think the other thing that makes the future bright for the game are our junior golf programs. Indiana's always been very supportive of junior golf initiatives. We are, part of our organization is also the First Tee Indiana. So we have 100,000 kids throughout the state of Indiana who are part of First Tee programs. We're in 325 elementary schools with the First Tee's National School Program. So I think when you look at, you know, the accessibility of the game and the junior programs we have, why you can't help but feel good about the future. We've got a significant number of our courses that are open to the public, and then when you look at because I think the stigma with golf is it's expensive and, you know, it takes a long time, and I think we kind of see that that's maybe not the case here as much as it is in maybe Chicago or Los Angeles or Phoenix or someplace like that. We have 5 different organizations that we administer, and literally one minute it could be something related to the Indiana PGA, the next it could be something related to the Indiana Golf Foundation. So I think the variety keeps me excited about what I do. But really the most rewarding thing that we're involved with is what I've already mentioned. That's our junior golf side of things. To provide the opportunity for kids to learn the game, a game they can play forever. I mean, my dad played till he was 90, so it truly is a game of a lifetime. And with First Tee, we're really introducing the game to kids who may not otherwise have an opportunity to be shown the game of golf. And then we need to make sure they have an opportunity to get on the golf course, they have equipment, et cetera, and we're doing that. But I definitely think the junior side of things is probably the most rewarding because we're really seeing it have an impact on these kids' lives.
Golf can also be good for fundraising. Our sports director, Anthony Calhoun, has a great track record of raising money through his annual golf outing. You may also have seen or heard him talk about the Wish TV Golf Card, which could be a good business building tool for you if you're ready to talk turkey between the birdies and the eagles. You can play at 23 different courses at one price, saving you hundreds off full price tee times. You get a big discount on gear too. To learn more, visit wishtv.com/sport. Coming up next, today's success story. So stay with us. This is Business Equity and Opportunities. We always wrap things up with a success story. We met our subject last week addressing health equity. Today he tells us what drives him in his chosen field.
This is Business Equity and Opportunities Success Story.
Darryl Lockett is the Director of Health Equity for Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Probably the year 2000, 1999, 2000. I can't remember the exact year, the exact day, but I was in school here at a public high school in the north side of Indianapolis. And my cell phone rang. I was cool. I had a cell phone in high school, and it was a friend of mine calling me from another high school in Indianapolis. And it was the middle of the day, so I picked up and I said, hey, what's going on? Why are you calling me? He goes, oh, you're in school? And I said, yeah, I'm in school. It's Tuesday. Why aren't you in school? And he said, oh, it's too hot. We don't have central air. Completely blew my mind. I was at a high school that had a world-renowned Olympic-sized swimming pool, a functioning planetarium, and my friend in the same city didn't have central air. So we can only, imagine the outcomes that one might experience or might not experience when you're starting from two totally different stations in life. It was by no doing of my own. I was just as, fortunate to be born to my parents as, Prince Harry and Prince William were fortunate to be born to the King of England. And it was by no doing that we can control many of the circumstances and situations that we find ourselves. But I was a junior, senior in high school when I sort of had that sort of existential moment for me. And I said, I must do something about that. And, many people think, the natural path to, create system change is politics. So, I followed that path and went to college in Washington, D.C. and, continued studying, thinking, hey, yes, politics is the way to go. After, school, I began working in politics and consulting for candidates running for, offices all across this country. And I realized that whether Democrats are on top, whether Republicans are on top, poor people are having a tough time at the bottom. And something has to be done to address these realities that individuals face on a daily basis. So I looked to find ways that I could, do something about it, that I could maximize my impact. I pivoted from politics to go into philanthropy, to be unrepentant about helping people. And that really spoke to me. I spent about 5 years at AARP Foundation in Washington, D.C., addressing the needs and issues of older adults in poverty. Some of the folks who, given lives to raise, generations to come behind them. And why is that in this land of plenty, when, opportunities are afforded to some, that we can't extend those opportunities to all? I then transitioned and moved back to Indianapolis, Indiana after almost 20 years away to then lead the Kennedy King Memorial Initiative, where we sought to eliminate division and injustice in society. Well, who's against that? That's the most beautiful mission of any nonprofit you could find, to eliminate division and injustice in society. But what divisions are we talking about? And how are we truly measuring the injustices? Are there KPIs or around that? Or how are we moving the needle or know that progress is being made? And I had spent some time working with Robert Wood Johnson Foundation when they were early in this conversation of the social determinants of health. Early in the focus of looking at transportation and looking at housing, looking at workforce issues and what impact that has on the health and well-being of an individual. And then I pivoted and I came to Anthem Indiana Medicaid because I realized that 80% of the health outcomes one experiences is not from their genetic makeup, is not from what they were born with, but the externalities and the environment that weigh on individuals. We have a life expectancy gap between portions of Hamilton County and the south side of Indianapolis of 17 years. What can we do as a community to address that? And I sought to find roles and find positions, and I'm now happy as the Director of Health Equity, where day in and day out, I can wake up and go to sleep thinking about what can we do to change some of these outcomes, to create opportunities for individuals and provide an infrastructure that individuals can travel, raise generations, and see the happiness that each of us seeks in life. We set these artificial checkpoints for ourselves and these artificial deadlines and timelines, and I must be here by this age and I must make this amount of money by this age. And truly, I think we need to sort of shift the paradigm in which we operate to more of a Kairos time, where we're moving from purposeful event to purposeful event. And that's truly what's going to bring us the satisfaction and joy in our lives. But that's also truly what's going to get us called to, maximizing the potential for good that each and every one of us have. I want to be used up when my time on this earth is over. I want to feel as though I've touched as many people as I can touch. I've, helped as many people as I can help. I've positioned my kids as best as I can position my kids, so that the work that motivated me can continue to, live forward and motivate somebody else. And ultimately, somebody asked me the other day, what would you consider success? When your time is done and your kids come together to, talk about their father, what do you want them to say? And I said, I would love to say that I had a hand or a part in taking one of the challenges that my children grapple with and society has to grapple with, to take that off the plate. Some are going to be bigger than others. Whether we overcome racial division and divide, I would like to say I can do that in my lifetime, but maybe not. Whether we can, overcome, challenges with public transportation, I would like to see that done. I'm not sure that I can do that in my life. I would just want to identify one. I don't know what it is yet, but one challenge that we face as a community, as a society, and try and take that off of the table so that my children can dream for conquering another challenge.
That is Business Equity and Opportunities for this week. Thanks to everybody who shared a story, offering insights on the ins and outs of entrepreneurship. If you need more information about anything you saw on today's show, find links on our website. Again, it's beoshow.com. You can also find past segments from the show at each of our 7 weekly topics. Please do listen and subscribe to our Business Equity and Opportunities podcast, part of the All Indiana Podcast Network. Sign up for our newsletter. We update it every Tuesday. If you have any questions, or if you have your own success story to share, shoot us an email, beo@wishtv.com. We're here every Sunday morning on Wish TV, or you can stream the show live on wishtv.com. We'll be back next week with more Business Equity and Opportunities. Till then, I'm Scott Sander. Thanks for watching.
Business, Equity, and Opportunities is made possible by Indiana Economic Development Corporation and InnoPower.